Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the program. Of course, this is the program where we get you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NFL. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll preview Week 15's most important games, including Thursday Night Football, a big one between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. Plus, we have your game picks and so much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Before we preview Week 15's most important games, let's recap Week 14's most important games in the NFL. Thursday Night Football was an exciting one between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Detroit would win a close one, 34-31. We had the Atlanta Falcons take on the Minnesota Vikings. It was all Vikings. Sam Darnold handled his business in this contest. Vikings would win 42-21. The Cleveland Browns took on the Pittsburgh Steelers in an AFC North rivalry game. It was close for a minute, but the Steelers would hang on to win 27-14. The Seattle Seahawks took on the Arizona Cardinals in an NFC West showdown. The Seahawks hold on to beat the Cardinals 30-18. We have the Chicago Bears take on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers showed their dominance, and it showed that they're coming back. The 49ers handled their business, beating the Chicago Bears 38-13. The Buffalo Bills took on the Los Angeles Rams in what may be a preview of this year's Super Bowl. Who knows? But this was a great game from start to finish. Josh Allen, he dazzled. Matthew Stafford handled his business. Cooper Kupp was great, but man, Puka Nacua made some great catches, and the Rams would hold on to beat the Bills 44-42. Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers took on the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game it was. Back and forth, very close. The Chargers had the Chiefs at their heels, but Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they did it yet again, and then Matthew Wright getting the doink off the upright, the field goal going in. Chiefs would win 19-17. Monday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals took on the Dallas Cowboys. On fourth down, Cincinnati had a punt blocked. A Dallas defender accidentally touched the ball. Cincinnati recovers. And then with just 2 minutes left in the game, Joe Burrow connected with Jamar Chase for the game-winning touchdown. Bengals beat the Cowboys 27-20. Unfortunately, there was an injury in that contest that we'll discuss a little bit later. But again, in Monday Night Football, Joe Burrow connected with Jamar Chase for the game-winning touchdown, helping the Bengals beat the Cowboys 27-20. All right, now it's time for my top three storylines. I want to start off talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, the Eagles are winning. They have a great record right now. But what's not so great, according to a certain someone, is the offense. A.J. Brown, after the game, a reporter asked A.J., what do you think what's wrong with the team right now? And he said, passing. And then A.J. went into detail that he says he feels like he can get more touches, not just himself, but he just said overall the passing game hasn't been great as of late. Jalen Hurts was asked in the post-game press conference about AJ's comments, and he said that there are no worries. We're winning. That's all that matters. And then Brandon Graham, earlier in the week, went on a local Philadelphia radio station, was asked about, in the post-game press conference, about A.J. Brown's comments about the passing game needing to be better. And Brandon stated that AJ and Jalen's friendship had hit a curve, had hit a bump in the road. But then later on, he corrected his comments in saying that AJ and Jalen are just fine. He said that his comments went out of context and he didn't mean it to take it that way. So, Nick Sirianni, later in the week, the Eagles head coach, said that, AJ and Jalen are strong as ever. There are no problems. And then offensive coordinator Kellen Moore says that he needs to work on getting the passing game better and making sure that everybody is on one accord, not just with Jalen, not just with AJ, but even with Devontae Smith and the rest of the receivers. Now, if you know this, I mean, listen, Saquon Barkley having an MVP year has been a game changer and has been an X factor for the Eagles offense. But if you look at the Eagles this year, they are next to last in pass offense. And Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni, they've got to find ways to make sure not only does A.J. Brown get touches, but also Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and the rest of the receivers, they get touches as well. The Eagles are playing at a high level right now. Yes, they are. Saquon Barkley is playing at a high level. Defensively, they are playing at such a high level right now. But if the Eagles want to get further in the playoffs, they have to get this thing right on the pass offense. Do I think it's a big deal? I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal, especially since the team is currently winning. I don't think it's a big deal, but they're going to have to clean it up, fine tune it a little bit and make sure that this doesn't bleed over into January when the playoffs start, because the Eagles are at a prime position right now. They're still trying to get that number one spot, trying to get home field advantage. It's going to be neck and neck between the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. They're both fighting for that number one spot, jockeying for position. And I think this is a temporary problem. They'll get it fixed. They'll work out the kinks. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, already stated that he's got work to do. And I mean, rightfully so, when you're next to last in the league in pass offense, you got to have work to do. And do I think it's a big problem? Not a big problem. The Eagles will work it out. I think what makes it not so much of a big problem, in my opinion, is that the team is winning. The Eagles, they'll work it out. They'll get it together. My next storyline is going to be the Bills and the Rams. So we may, I emphasize the word may, we may have seen a preview of this year's Super Bowl between the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams. Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford, they showed us the current NFL, the current model of the NFL. It's a quarterback's league, and we saw two quarterbacks handle their business. Matthew Stafford, he got it done with his rocket arm. He still has it, still connecting with targets like Cooper Kupp and like Puka Nacua. Puka making some fantastic catches in that game against Buffalo. Josh Allen, his team didn't win, but he still got it done, not just throwing the ball with 3 touchdown passes, but running and giving us helping the Bills get 3 rushing touchdowns. Bills and Rams, that was one heck of a game. Could this be a preview of this year's Super Bowl? Hey, you just never know. And the Rams are one of those teams where they are so September through early November. When we get to Thanksgiving, late November going into early January, that's when the Rams get hot. And that's when teams it's scary to watch a team like the LA Rams get hot. Offensively, they can get it going, especially in the running department with Kyron Williams. Defensively, the Rams, a defensive lineman named Jared Verse, he's been hot as of late, and they get hot right at the right time. Bills and the Rams, man, that was a phenomenal game. 44-42, the Rams won, and hey, we're going to see, at least the next several years, we're going to see more games like this with Josh Allen going up against Matthew Stafford. We got to enjoy it while we have it. We know Stafford's in his mid-30s, but he's still very much in his prime. And Josh Allen, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And for my last storyline is going to be Chargers Chiefs. So Matthew Wright, kicker for the Chiefs, he doinked it off the upright and the ball falls through the goalpost. Chiefs win another close game. A lot of Chiefs fans, their blood pressure has gone through the roof this year with all of these close games that they've been in. But again, that's the way Kansas City's played this year. And certainly this is another great game and a great chapter in the rivalry of the Chargers and the Chiefs. And we saw Justin Herbert play well, and we saw Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes. And in this current era of the NFL, well, currently in this NFL where it's shaped on offenses and especially quarterbacks. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes, again, they put on a masterclass. Just like I mentioned earlier about Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford, they put on a masterclass in quarterback play. Well, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, they did their thing. But we saw Patrick be Patrick, and we saw Travis Kelce do his thing, man. And what a Sunday night game it was between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chargers fell short. The defending champions, they did what they did. And again, hey, Matthew Wright doinked it off the upright, but the ball went through. Field goal was good. Chiefs win. And the Chargers, man, listen, the Chargers are not to be played with. I mean, Jim Harbaugh so far in his first year doing big things. The Chargers could say something in the playoffs and could spoil the hopes of a top seed in the AFC. We'll have to watch out. But again, that was a great game and another great chapter in the rivalry between the Chargers and the Chiefs. All right, so those are my top 3 storylines. And now before we preview Week 15's most important games. All right, so I mentioned earlier about an injury taking place in the Monday Night Football game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Well, for the Cowboys, again, when it rains, it pours. It's never a dull moment for them. Unfortunately, they lost a key defender, DeMarvion Overshown. Overshown, done for the year. Suffered, not only did he tear his ACL, but he also turned his MCL and his PCL in his right knee. And certainly Overshown, coming back from a devastating injury last year, he tore his ACL in his rookie year last year. And certainly he was bouncing back and having a very productive year. One of the top, not just top young players, but one of the rising stars, one of the rising defenders in the NFL. And certainly that's a bad break for him. And tough loss for Dallas. But again, Dallas Cowboys defender DeMarvion Overshown will miss the remainder of the year after tearing his ACL, MCL, and his PCL in last Monday night's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And certainly, according to Cowboys owner, president, and general manager Jerry Jones, Overshown won't make a full recovery until 2026. So Overshown coming back for 2025 is highly unlikely, and Overshown is expected to make a full recovery and be ready to go for the 2026 season, and is expected to have reconstructive surgery on his right knee. And certainly, man, that's a tough break for a guy that's, again, tore his ACL his rookie year, and certainly somebody that was already having a phenomenal year despite Dallas having a tough go. But as far as Overshown was concerned before the injury, having a solid season, and then for this injury to happen against the Bengals, that is definitely tough. And again, he's expected to make a full recovery and be ready for the 2026 season. And going from the Cowboys to the NFL continue to make a global impact. The NFL will play its first ever regular season game in Berlin, Germany in 2025. This season, in the 2024 season, the NFL expanded its international series, and for the first time ever, they played a game in Brazil. They played their game in Sao Paulo with the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, now the NFL continued to expand its international brand. They will expand and will play their first ever regular season game in Berlin in 2025. And the game will be played at Olympic Stadium in Berlin. So if you know about your, not just your sports history, but most importantly, your Olympic history, you know about Olympic Stadium in Berlin. That was when Jesse Owens did a phenomenal feat in 1936. So there's a lot of history at Olympic Stadium in Berlin. And certainly the NFL will play its first ever regular season game in Berlin, Germany, and it will be next season, the 2025 season. So the NFL, they've had their history being in Germany. They've played their international games in Munich and in Frankfurt. Specifically, this year, the game that they had in Frankfurt was with the New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers. So the NFL, no stranger to Germany, rotating between Munich and Frankfurt since 2022. And now for the first time ever, they'll be in Berlin playing a regular season game starting next season. And of course, before that, the NFL, there was a NFL Europe. For those of you that may not remember the NFL Europe, there was a team called the Berlin Thunder, and they had played their games in Berlin at Olympic Stadium. And so definitely the NFL definitely continue to expand their international brand. We've seen it in England, specifically in London, and we've seen it in Germany with Munich and Frankfurt, and then we saw it this year with the first ever game being played in Brazil in Sao Paulo. But now the NFL will play for the first time ever a regular season game in Berlin starting next year. All right, now it's time to preview Week 15's most important games in the NFL. Thursday night football is going to be a great one between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. So for the Rams, a big win over the Buffalo Bills last week. Matthew Stafford played a highly effective game, passed for over 300 yards. Cooper Kupp doing what he does best. Puka Nacua, tough as they come, making those circus catches. And the Rams offense was just on point in their victory over the Bills. As for the 49ers, a big win. That was a must-win game that they had over the Chicago Bears. Brock Purdy getting back in the top form. George Kittle played well. Jawan Jennings played very well in this game. Isaac Guerrero replacing the injured Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. Guerrero played at a high level in this game. And 49ers defense, hey, Caleb Williams was stuck like Chuck in this game. He had nowhere to go. Under pressure, just the Bears offense had no answers for the 49ers defense. And so we come down now to a must-win game really for the 49ers. It's a must-win game for the Rams, but this is a must-win game for the 49ers. Rams and the Niners. Classic NFC West rivalry game. So many players have shaped this rivalry, and it just continues to get better. This is another chapter in this great rivalry. So for the Rams, everybody is on point. Stafford, Kupp, Nacua, the running game with Kyron Williams. I mean, the offense is just playing at a high level right now. For the 49ers, a lot of injuries. Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason on injured reserve. Isaac Guerrero battling injuries. Nick Bosa, Trent Williams battling injuries. Deebo Samuel, he made a little noise this week saying that complained about getting lack of touches, not getting enough targets. We'll see how that energy is going to translate onto the field for Thursday night football. But man, Rams and the 49ers, it's always a fun game. It's always fun to watch these two go at it. It was always fun watching these two go at it back in the day, and certainly it's going to translate into this contest with the Rams and the 49ers. Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. It's just going to be so many. I mean, it's going to be a great game, not just in terms of the NFL, but just California as a whole. We know for so long, quote unquote, California's team in terms of the NFL, it was Raiders, then 49ers, then Rams, and then the Chargers. But you can expect a lot of people making the trip from Southern California, going up to Northern California, to the Bay, to be exact, and be in Santa Clara for a Thursday night matchup with the Rams and the 49ers. We've got the Miami Dolphins going up against the Houston Texans. So the Texans, they had a bye week, but before the bye week, they had a close victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Texans have had time to rest up during the bye week. C.J. Stroud looking to get back in top form, looking to get back into a groove. As for the Miami Dolphins, a big win over the New York Jets in an overtime thriller. Tua Tagovailoa played at a high level, made some key throws, made some key plays connecting with the likes of Tyreek Hill. Also, you had Jonnu Smith scoring the game-winning touchdown. So Miami, we thought all hope was lost for the Dolphins, but now Miami is still very much in the hunt. they're very much alive in this playoff hunt. And also Jalen Waddle, he played at a high level as well. So all hope is not lost in the MIA. Dolphins fans, there's a glimmer of hope, and they'll go down. Miami will continue that momentum as they head down to H-Town to take on the Houston Texans. So you've got Tua, you got CJ Stroud, you've got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith. You've also got for Houston, you got Tank Dell, Nico Collins. This should be a fun one with the Miami Dolphins against the Houston Texans. The Washington Commanders will square off against the New Orleans Saints. So let's start off with the Saints. An ugly win last week over the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium in the New Jersey Meadowlands, just outside of New York. Hey, a win is a win, and you take it. Ugly, beautiful, whatever it is, a win is a win, and you take it. And certainly the Saints were just blessed and happy to have that victory over the New York Giants. Brian Brzee blocked the potential game-tying field goal that the Giants were attempting. So Brian Brzee was a hero in the Big Easy during the week, and it was bittersweet. Derek Carr, not placed on injured reserve, but he fractured his non-throwing hand, his left hand, and also in the concussion protocol. So he won't be playing in this game. But the Saints, they're in the hunt again. It's a glimmer of hope for the Saints. All hope was lost for a minute during the whole Dennis Allen deal, but now Darren Rizzi, the interim head coach, there's some glimmer of hope that the Saints may sneak in. It's going to be tough. They have to win out, but it's going to be tough going up against a red-hot Washington Commanders team. Commanders coming off of their bye week, the week before that, an impressive win over the Tennessee Titans. The Commanders, Brian Robinson Jr., running at a high level. Terry McLaurin, what can you say about Scary Terry, right? Zach Ertz finding the fountain of youth in Washington. Also finding the fountain of youth in Washington. The defensive side, Bobby Wagner playing at a high level. You can't forget about Frankie Louvu, who's also playing at a high level. And in my opinion, most likely will win this year's Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, no stranger to the state of Louisiana, won the Heisman Trophy at LSU, which is located in Baton Rouge, about an hour and 20 minutes away from New Orleans. So technically, it's a homecoming for him. This is going to be the first time he's ever played at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. So the last time, if I'm not mistaken, I believe a certain rookie by the name of RG3, Robert Griffin III, he had a one heck of a game his rookie year when he was the quarterback of Washington, connecting with guys like Pierre Garçon and Alfred Morris and Santana Moss and Jordan Reed and company, just to name a few. So RG3, his rookie year, went down to New Orleans, got a victory. Jaden Daniels is looking to do the same thing as the Washington Commanders take on the New Orleans Saints. We have one heck of a game in the Motor City with the Buffalo Bills going up against the Detroit Lions. So for Detroit, big win over the Packers last Thursday night. Jared Goff played at a high level. Also, the running game was effective as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. As for Buffalo, tough loss to the LA Rams last week. And Josh Allen and company, they're looking to get revenge. And a lot of people are saying that Buffalo and Detroit, this could be a preview of this year's Super Bowl. Strong possibility. And both of these two teams have great quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Jared Goff. And it's going to be a matchup of not just the quarterbacks, but a matchup of Detroit's offense versus Buffalo's defense. We know Detroit's offense has been so dynamic and so explosive all season long, but will they be dynamic and explosive enough to overcome Buffalo's defense? I'm sure Detroit watched the Buffalo and the Rams game and saw Matthew Stafford and company decimate or cut up that Buffalo defense. Detroit's looking to do that, but it's going to be tough. And what a lot of people are saying could be a preview of this year's Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Detroit Lions. We've got the battle of the Keystone State, the state of Pennsylvania, with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. You talk about a week of twists and turns and ups and downs. The Eagles, close victory over the Carolina Panthers. However, drama unfolded in post-game press conference. A.J. Brown was asked by a reporter, what do you think is currently wrong with the team right now? He said passing. And then Jalen Hurts was relayed the message, and Jalen just said, it's all right. Everything's going to be all right. And then we had Nick Siri. Then there was Brandon Graham with the whole situation about commenting about a fracture in the friendship with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And then he later retracted his statement saying what he said was taken completely out of context and he didn't mean it to sound like that. And then Nick Sirianni was saying that everything's good between A.J. and Jalen. And then the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, said he needs to get better in terms of making sure everybody gets to eat in terms of the passing game. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, close victory over the Cleveland Browns. Russell Wilson, Najee Harris and company did what they did to get the job done. So it's so many storylines in this game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Head coach for the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, said that George Pickens will not be playing in this game, still hampered with an injury. So again, it's going to be all on really Russell Wilson and Najee Harris and company to try to get the offense down the field for Pittsburgh. As for Philly, distractions this week. If they can get a victory over their in-state rival, all will definitely be forgotten what happened the previous week. I know there's going to be a game plan in place. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, he's going to be working hard to make sure the passing game gets better. And then also, too, Saquon Barkley will get his touches as well. This should be a fun game. It should be a feisty game. It should be an interesting game in, an in-state rivalry game in the state of Pennsylvania with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers will square off against the Seattle Seahawks. So for Green Bay, tough loss on Thursday night to the Detroit Lions. Jordan Love played strong. The offense played strong in the second half, but the Detroit Lions, man, just being risk takers, going for it on fourth down. That's what got them. And hey, you know how that turned out, right? For the Seattle Seahawks, they are just red hot right now. Geno Smith playing at a high level, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Kenneth Walker still hampered with an injury, but Zach Charbonnet has filled in quite nicely in the running department, man. And the Seahawks are just on a roll right now. And as I stated on a previous show, Seattle is a team you really don't want to mess with in January, man, because that's a team that could make noise. They could spoil playoff hopes as playing in a wild card game. We know the history of Seattle, January, wild card games, especially playing at home in Seattle. That's a tough act to follow right there. I should say that's a tough task to accomplish right there. But Packers and Seahawks, there's a history between these two franchises. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Matt Hasselbeck, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Legion of Boom. Hey, I think more history, another chapter is going to be written in this great rivalry. You've got Jordan Love and Geno Smith both playing very well right now. This is going to be a great one Sunday night with the Green Bay Packers going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Monday Night Football doubleheader. The Chicago Bears going up against the Minnesota Vikings. So for Chicago, tough loss last week to the 49ers. They're just trying to make it work. The Bears are just trying to piece everything together. It's just been a tough rookie year for Caleb Williams. Matt Eberflus, no longer the head coach. Thomas Brown is the interim head coach. And again, they're just still trying to piece everything together. As for the Minnesota Vikings, they're not piecing things together. Everything is continuing to come together for the Vikings. Sam Darnold close to 400 yards in the win over the Atlanta Falcons. There's been questions about should Darnold get a long-term deal, maybe continue to be there another 2, maybe 3 more years and to prep J.J. McCarthy for the starting position. But the Vikings are just playing. They're balling right now, man. They've been balling really all season long. Justin Jefferson doing what he does best, catching passes like nobody's business. Jordan Addison is a great addition to that team. TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. The Vikings are they're rocking and rolling right now. They look to continue that momentum on Monday night against the Chicago Bears. We have the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. For the Falcons, embarrassed in Minnesota by the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, wasn't the game that he was looking for, returning to Minnesota, going up against his former team. And the Vikings, they're looking to get back on track as they go up against the Las Vegas Raiders. What can you say about the Raiders, right? It's just been a tough year for them, losing last week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're saying the future of head coach Antonio Pierce is in doubt. I don't think this future is in doubt at the very moment, but in the NFL, you just never know. Aiden O'Connell hit with an injury. Desmond Ridder comes in. It looks as though Ridder is going to get the start on for the Monday night matchup, but it's just been one of those. It's been a tough year for the Raiders. They lost a close one to the Chiefs on Black Friday, and then you lose this game against the Buccaneers, and it's just been all sorts of stuff, all sorts of things that have been happening with the Raiders. And the Falcons, they look to get back on track as they take on the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. All right, now it's time for my game of the week. My game of the week is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Keystone State. That's what Pennsylvania is known as. And when you have two iconic cities in the state of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, culturally dynamic but different. Pittsburgh, surrounded by the three rivers, prides itself on being very blue-collar, hardworking, the steel mills, culturally dynamic in its own way. Philadelphia, culturally dynamic in its own way as well. Philadelphia, surrounded by the Delaware River, the Schuylkill River, and also close proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. You've got one city that prides itself on great cultural dining options, the food, pierogies topping Pittsburgh. When you think of Philadelphia, you think of cheesesteaks, hoagies, and so much more. But also when you think of these two cities, you think of their respective teams. Steelers and the Eagles, Pittsburgh and Philly. Both of these teams thrive on being blue-collar, hardworking, and certainly these two teams have not disappointed during their time being in the NFL. And even as we come to the current, you've got two teams with great quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, currently on his comeback tour right now. Jalen Hurts, no sign of slowing down. You know what Jalen brings to the table, right? But also you've got two teams with great running backs. Saquon Barkley playing on a high level, MVP candidate. And for the Steelers, you've got not only Najee Harris, but Jalen Warren is a nice complimentary back as well. Defenses, the Eagles playing at a high level on the defensive side. Jalen Carter and company. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, playing at such a high level and coordinating this defense to being one of the best currently in the NFL. And when you think of defense, right, Pittsburgh, TJ Watt, need I say more, right? I mean, the resume continues to build for TJ Watt. So you've got two teams, two cities, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Steelers, Eagles. The Eagles so far have won a total of 4 NFL championships in the franchise history. The Steelers have won a total of 6 NFL championships in the franchise history. Not only do these two teams make up the state of Pennsylvania, but these two teams have shaped the NFL for a long time. And I think what it's going to come down to, in my opinion at least, is going to come down to the quarterbacks in a quarterback's league with Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts. But also, shouldn't sleep on the running backs and the defense as well. But this could come down to a quarterback matchup with Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles, my game of the week. All right, before we get on out of here, I want to give you my picks on who I think will win Week 15's most important games in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, the Los Angeles Rams go up against the San Francisco 49ers. It's a close one, but I like the Rams to win. The Miami Dolphins versus the Houston Texans. I like the Dolphins to win. The Washington Commanders going up against the New Orleans Saints. I like the Commanders to win. The Buffalo Bills versus the Detroit Lions. I like Buffalo to win. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I like Philadelphia to win. Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks. I like Green Bay to win. The Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings. I like Minnesota to win. The Atlanta Falcons versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I like the Falcons to win. So again, my picks are LA Rams, Miami, Washington, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Minnesota, Atlanta. There you have it. That's going to do it for another exciting edition of the program. Until next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long, you take care, and enjoy the games. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.